Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 164. Without any delay, start explanation. The national ceremony was not to be disturbed. After retracting his martial soul, Tang Wulin was taken away. Wu Zhongkong followed along as well. What? You fell asleep and had a dream? When the royal household butler learned of Tang Wulin's excuse, he almost whipped the lad. This was a national ceremony. It would have been an act of great disrespect if Tang Wulin was from the Star Luo Empire. Tang Wulin lowered his head. He was unsure how to explain himself right now. If he were to intentionally insist that someone by his side shouted those words, then the only people beside him at the time were Yu and Shulishi. He would need to bring Yu into this matter as well. The butler was similarly lost for words upon seeing that Tang Wulin appeared to be compliant. How was he supposed to manage this matter when there was no precedent for such an occurrence? Wu Zhongkong stood at the side. He had also been rendered speechless. Meanwhile, a royal household servant dressed in elegant attire walked into the room and whispered something into the butler's ear. The butler nodded and his expression then relaxed. His Majesty is benevolent. He understood that your situation is unique and he appreciates the friendship between the two countries. Consider this situation forgotten. Be careful next time. All of you are to participate in the banquet. The royal household butler announced the final judgment. Forget the matter just like that. Tang Wulin exhaled a breath of relief. Standing by his side, Wu Zhongkong was slightly stunned. It was a matter that involved the country's prestige. He did not expect that the Star Luo Empire would be so amiable. Meanwhile, in the Star Luo Empire's palace. Trouble. Dai Qianling looked at his daughter standing before him in an unpleasant manner. His face was filled with frustration. You are daring enough to start trouble no matter the situation. Nothing bad came about this time, but what would have happened if you caused a dispute? What if you ended up creating a conflict between two countries? I was wrong, father. I won't do that again, Dai Yuna spoke obediently, lowering her head. Dai Qianling had 17 sons but only one daughter. He would go to the ends of the earth for her ever since she was young. Dai Yuna's eccentric and intellectual nature allowed her to get around her father. To him, this beloved daughter of his was truly akin to a pearl on his palm. I've been listening to these words of yours since you were young until my ears are growing calluses. You won't do that again? Who gave the imperial concubine Jin a yin and yang haircut last month? Also, the month before that. No, I will not just let it go this time. Dai Yuna pouted. Her eyes reddened immediately. Father, don't you love me anymore? Dai Qianling was reputed to be an emperor of great talent and bold vision ever since he ascended the throne. He made great efforts to build a strong nation and lead his empire into developing at full speed. He went through the decades when his country was being choked by the Green Skeleton rebel organization until it could barely breathe. The country had already begun to gradually decline. Yet, no matter how powerful he was in political situations, he could never show an emperor or a father's dominance before his only daughter. Just like the trick Dai Yuna was playing before his eyes, the end result was inevitable every time. Don't cry, don't cry. Dai Qianling patted on her forehead. I really can't help it when I'm with you, little girl. You are simply my jinx that was gifted by the heavens. All right, I won't punish you. But, you must promise not to make any more mischief from now on, especially mischief that could ruin the country's reputation. Otherwise, father is going to have to place you in confinement. Father is the best. Dai Yuna pounced forward abruptly and hugged her father's neck. She energetically kissed Dai Qianling on the face twice. What happened to the tearful girl from earlier? Dai Qianling's face was filled with helplessness, yet he could not be angry with her. Father, that fellow today is fun to play with. Dai Yuna chuckled softly. Dai Qianling's expression stiffened. What was fun to play with? Dai Yuna answered, you can't really blame me for playing tricks on him. He was sleeping during such an important ceremony. It was disrespectful to our Star Luo Empire. He deserved to be embarrassed, am I right? Though it was really impressive that he could even fall asleep while standing. I wish to try it sometime too. That's enough. Even if it was wrong for him to fall asleep, he's still our guest who came from afar. With you playing a trick on him like that, how is the Doluo continent's diplomatic corps going to regain their dignity? Dai Qianling spoke sternly. Dai Yuna said, I met him before on the streets. I didn't expect that he came from the Doluo continent. But, father, he seemed like an incisive person. What was the martial soul he released that time? Did you manage to see? I took a close look, but I could not recognize it. Dai Yuna was indeed mischievous, but she was blessed with natural talents as well. She was gifted with an extraordinarily retentive memory ever since she was young. Moreover, she was extremely intelligent. She was filled with soul power when her martial soul awakened at 6 years old. Today, her soul power cultivation base had already reached 4 soul rings despite being less than 15 years old. She was the most outstanding genius in the royal household, and this was why Dai Qianling loved her the most. In private, Dai Qianling had remarked more than once about how good it would be if Yuna was a boy. This was also one of the most important reasons he tolerated his daughter's eccentric and intellectual nature. Dai Qianling squinted his eyes. I hadn't managed to get a close look before I was blocked by the guards at the time. What was the martial soul of that young man from the Doluo continent? Dai Yuna answered, it appeared to be a dark blue dragon, but there was no head, and it was a little similar to vines, but there seemed to be a vertebrae-like structure in the vines. It was so very peculiar that I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before. I saw his soul rings clearly, though. He had 4 soul rings, 3 purple, and 1 black. Dai Qianling looked at his daughter in astonishment and said, isn't that the same as yours? Dai Yuna spoke, he looks to be about my age too. Are all the people from Doluo continent that superb? Dai Qianling spoke as if he was deep in thought. It seems like it's highly possible that the young fellow came from Shrek Academy. Dai Yuna's eyes brightened. Shrek Academy? Is that the Shrek Academy that holds the most power in modern times? The one that you mentioned plays a decisive role on the Doluo continent? The Shrek Academy whose foundational theory was based on our Monster Academy. Dai Qianling nodded. We specifically invited the elites of Shrek Academy to be part of the diplomatic corps from Doluo continent this time. Moreover, Sima Lanxiao had already made an agreement with Shrek Academy for them to participate in the upcoming Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition. That will let us have a look at the Doluo continent's ability. The average age of the elite members sent by Doluo continent this time is 15 years old, and the oldest is only 16. Our competition authorizes that the oldest age for participants is 20 years old. Hence, this is a good opportunity for the young generation of soul masters in our country to thoroughly test themselves. Dai Yuna exclaimed excitedly, that's awesome. I shall test them there as well. I bet our Monster Academy is a worthy match for Shrek Academy. Dai Qianling rubbed his daughter's head affectionately. Don't get careless. Shrek Academy has been famous for millennia. The unspoken truth is that on the 3 great continents, they have no equal. We have a good knowledge of Shrek Academy. We know that for generations past the Sea God's Pavilion has been a gathering place for all the strongest from across the entire continent. The Shrek 7 monsters in days gone by were also ever present in the Doluo continent's world of soul masters. Dai Yuna laughed and said, Father, don't you go praising the strength of others and forgetting your own. Dai Qianling spoke, all right, we won't discuss this anymore. Have you given any thought to your betrothal? Dai Yuna pursed her little lips at once upon hearing this. No, I won't be betrothed. I'm still young. How can one be betrothed at this age? Dai Qianling explained in frustration, it is the royal household's law that you must be betrothed at the age of 15. Father does not want to lose you either, but the law cannot be broken. You may get married later if you want. No, no, no. Dai Yuna shook her head vigorously. Dai Qianling was about to say something when Dai Yuna ran away like a gust of wind. That girl. Dai Qianling shook his head helplessly. Your Majesty. A young woman dressed in palace attire walked in and looked at Dai Qianling with slight frustration in her eyes. She said, "The little Lady Yuna still refused." Dai Qianling gave a forced laugh and answered, "Don't you understand the daughter that you gave birth to?" The young woman replied, "So what do you think?" Dai Qianling's gaze fixated for a moment as his emperor's overbearing aura was emitted. "She is still a member of the royal household no matter how much I love her. The royal household's law must not be broken. How else can I maintain control of society? Just make the arrangements as planned. The day the competition ends is the day the princess chooses her prince." "All right." Dai Qianling looked toward his wife. "Keep a close eye on our daughter in the upcoming days. The girl has a wild temperament. She won't yield easily once she finds out that we've arranged her marriage. Perhaps she will even come up with a good show of running away from me. Please watch her well." Tang Wulin looked at Wu Xiaokeng's back complacently as they walked into the royal household's welcoming banquet hall. He hastily found a corner to hide after he entered through the door. Today's turn of events was truly mortifying, and he still had yet to figure out what happened. He had been sleeping soundly. How did he suddenly hear such a loud shout? He would not have humiliated himself so much if it had not been for that shout. This was just great. Now, everyone including the Star Luo Empire's government and the Doluo continent's diplomatic corps knew him at once. Tang Wulin grabbed 2 pieces of dessert quietly and started eating in the corner. At least now, everything would pass as planned after tonight's banquet. Meanwhile, the banquet had already begun. The reigning emperor of the Star Luo Empire, His Majesty Dai Qianling, was dressed in a luxurious suit. He held his queen's hand as they conversed with the diplomatic corps officers. The atmosphere felt extremely cordial. The Star Luo Empire's royals were mingling with the Doluo continent's diplomatic corps. The scene appeared amicable and harmonious. The melodious sound of music echoed throughout the scene. His Majesty Dai Qianling walked to a female member of the Doluo continent's diplomatic corps and gestured for her to join him. The woman was about 30 years old and extremely beautiful. Her expression revealed that she was overwhelmingly flattered and honored by the invitation. Even so, she humbly accepted Dai Qianling's hand and went with him as he walked onto the dance floor. They began the first dance of the night. Tang Wulin could not help but stare blankly at how gracefully they moved. He recalled Ji Yu's magnificent poise when she was dancing the other day. Where are Ji Yu and the rest? Tang Wulin's eyes searched through the crowd of people absent-mindedly. In the distance, the group from Shrek Academy were engaged in a discussion with some young royals from the Star Luo Empire. Xu Xiaoyan, Yi Xinglan, and Ji Yu seemed to be popular. Yuan Yehue was dressed in men's clothing today, so she was naturally more left out. Forget it. It's better not to go over. Tang Wulin considered and made the decision to stay put, not wishing to become the laughingstock among them. Murder! A frail voice echoed by his ears at that exact moment. Tang Wulin's sharp senses made him shudder as he jumped up in surprise. As such, he did manage to react to the situation at once. His body made a half-turn as he soon realized that a young maiden in palace attire nearby was laughing so hard she was almost falling over. The voice was too familiar. Moreover, the people nearby apparently did not hear it. It had not been a delusion during the day. There truly was someone who shouted "murder" into his ears. Tang Wulin looked at the girl as he gnashed his teeth in anger. He walked in purposeful strides toward her. Why didn't you release your martial soul this time? Once bitten, twice shy? Dai Yuna looked at Tang Wulin with a beautiful smile on her face. Tang Wulin spoke furiously, "It was you who tricked me." Dai Yuna shrugged. "Isn't it as obvious as it can be?" Tang Wulin asked, "Why?" Dai Yuna spoke in a logical and natural manner, "You're the one who was sleeping. Is it proper for you to nap during such a grand ceremony?" Tang Wulin was immediately rendered speechless. Indeed, he would never have lost his cool, even if someone were to shout into his ears suddenly, had he not been sleeping at the time. "Come, I'll bring you to the dance floor." Dai Yuna grabbed Tang Wulin's sleeve as she was speaking, Then she brought him to the dance floor. This was a royal household banquet after all. Tang Wulin could not bear to struggle out of her grip, so he could only be dragged by her to the edge of the dance floor. Meanwhile, the first dance had just ended. As the second song played, His Majesty the Emperor brought his dance partner from the diplomatic corps to the edge of the dance floor. He saluted her in a most gentlemanly manner before he bowed out from the floor. The Queen stood at the side, smiling as she clapped. The female member's charming face was blushing as she returned the handsome Emperor's salute. After that, the banquet's dance had officially begun. Dai Yuna pulled Tang Wulin as the both of them entered the dance floor. Tang Wulin stumbled for a moment, while Dai Yuna had already led him into dancing together. Tang Wulin could sense from the energy radiating from his dance partner's hand that this girl who was supposed to be a princess was also a soul master. Not only that, her cultivation base ought to be rather impressive as well. Tang Wulin's heart jerked as he held her hand, while his other hand supported her waist. He muttered softly, "I don't know how to dance." Dai Yuna spoke smilingly, "It's okay, you'll learn as you go. I'm a professional." Ouch! She gasped softly as her foot was stepped on by Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin hastily feigned awkwardness as he explained, I'm sorry. I told you I don't dance." He was not the kind of person who sought revenge for petty grievances, but he was truly cunning. Since Dai Yuna took the initiative to pull him onto the dance floor, how could he not avenge himself? Dai Yuna rolled her eyes at him. "You should be more careful." Ouch! Her foot was trod upon once more. Again, Tang Wulin apologized repeatedly. Dai Yuna looked up toward him with an ashamed yet furious look. "You're doing this on purpose, aren't you?" Tang Wulin's face was innocent as could be. "How is that possible? Why would I step on you on purpose? I told you that I don't know how to dance, yet you still insisted on dragging me out here. How about we just forget about this?" "No, ouch!" Tang Wulin stepped on her foot for the third time. Dai Yuna was in pain, but this time she managed to raise her head just swiftly enough to capture the smile that vanished from the depth of Tang Wulin's eyes in an instant. She pouted her little lips, but she did not scream out aloud this time. She did not stop the dance either. Tang Wulin stepped on her repeatedly for a few more times, but Dai Yuna did not make a sound remarkably. On the contrary, she led him to dance in all seriousness. Tang Wulin was feeling slightly ashamed by then. He controlled himself subconsciously. He depended on the foundation he built with the ghost shadow perplexing track to follow her steps. Their dance gradually became smoother. It was unknown since when Ji Yu had been at the side of the scene. She squinted at Tang Wulin and the princess who were dancing there. Her eyes were ablaze, but she did not take any action. The music ended, and the pair stopped dancing. Dai Yuna suddenly burst into laughter as she looked at him. "I bet it was fun stepping on me." She spoke with a voice that only Tang Wulin could hear. Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment, then an ominous feeling abruptly arose from the bottom of his heart. An eccentric yet intelligent smile flashed past Dai Yuna's eyes. She suddenly spoke aloud, "I've always admired Doluo Continent's culture and Shrek Academy. After witnessing it today, I find it truly extraordinary. Will you be my boyfriend?" Tang Wulin was staring at her in bewilderment. Just as he was about to reject her proposal, he heard Dai Yuna's next words. "However, you'll need to possess strong powers in order to become my boyfriend. Only the strongest can catch my fancy. I promise that you can be my boyfriend as long as you're able to become the champion in the upcoming Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition. Work hard." She made a "work hard" hand gesture toward Tang Wulin upon saying that, before saluting him with a beautiful smile on her face and taking her leave. "Oh. Dai Yuna had already left the dance floor before Tang Wulin could even explain himself. He had already become the focal point of the entire scene at this exact moment. Everyone's gaze was fixated on him, including His Majesty the Emperor Dai Qianling, the Queen, all the royalties on the scene, and also the diplomatic corps members from the Doluo continent. This little girl was a little too savage. Tang Wulin could clearly sense that there were at least several hundred young royals glaring at him with murderous intent. Their gazes felt like needles poking into his back. "I only stepped on you a few times, didn't I?" "Sure. Do you plan to stay behind and become the emperor's son-in-law?" A familiar voice echoed next to his ears. Tang Wulin turned around and found Gu. She stared at him furiously. Not waiting for his explanation, she turned around and left. Gu, Tang Wulin was about to chase after her when 7 to 8 youths from the Star Luo Empire came forward and encircled him. "So you wish to date our Princess Yuna? Boy, are you trying to get beaten up?" A tall and strong youth pushed onto Tang Wulin's chest with his arm. Tang Wulin understood the profoundness of how 100 mouths could not absolve his guilt for the first time. He truly had no way to explain himself. "Excuse me, coming through," Tang Wulin mumbled. Star Luo Empire's young royals puffed out their chests and raised their heads. "And what if we don't move? I'm advising you to drop those ideas right now for your own benefit. Princess Yuna will never date outsiders like you lot. Her Highness is going to choose a husband soon. Young fellow, you're oblivious to what the situation is here. What are all of you doing here?" An awe-inspiring voice echoed. The young nobles quickly parted. When Tang Wulin turned to look, he saw that His Majesty the Emperor Dai Qianling was already in front of him with Her Majesty the Empress following beside. "What is your name?" Dai Qianling peered at Tang Wulin, sizing him up. Due to the long distance between them in the plaza that day, His Majesty had not managed to get a good look at Tang Wulin. But now seeing him up close, he had a sudden feeling of his eyes brightening up. Here was a tall, straight, and handsome young man. It was a given that Tang Wulin, who was good-looking and full of a vibrant warmth, easily gave other people a good impression. With his big eyes and long eyelashes, even the ladies were envious of him. Tang Wulin bowed and paid his respects. "Good evening, Your Majesty. My name is Tang Wulin." Dai Qianling said with a faint smile, "I am looking forward to your performance in the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition." After he had finished, he nodded at Tang Wulin, turned around and left. With sluggish eyes, Tang Wulin watched the Emperor walk away. He said in his heart, "Aren't you adding fuel to the fire with this?" The expressions of the nobles around him had become even more unkind now. However, thanks to His Majesty the Emperor's intervention, they had no way of making a move on Tang Wulin, at least for the moment. What was an undeserved catastrophe? This was. Tang Wulin suddenly felt that he did not know whether he should be laughing or crying. "If I can't provoke you, surely I can hide from you. Competition or no competition, I'll just decline to participate in it. Good luck." A hand appeared on his shoulder. Tang Wulin turned around swiftly and saw none other than Elder Cai standing by him. "Can I not take part in the competition?" Tang Wulin said with a wry smile. Elder Cai's voice sounded in Tang Wulin's ears, "You may, but I must remind you that our current trip isn't simply a diplomatic mission alone. It is also a trial for all of you. It's a trial from the Academy for the new generation of Shrek 7 monsters, a trial for the inner disciples. If you choose to run and not fight, then you'll lose the qualification to enter the inner court." Inner court? Shrek 7 monsters? To a student from Shrek Academy, was there anything more attractive than these? Besides, the prizes of the competition are very generous. The champion of the solo battles will get a soul bone, Elder Cai continued. A soul bone? Tang Wulin's eyes widened. He knew exactly what a soul bone was, because he had obtained one before in the Spirit Ascension platform. It had been the right metacarpal. It was not one of the 6 great soul bones, but it was his ace in the hole. Countless times, the Golden Dragon Dreadclaw had saved his life at the most critical moments and had given him powerful battle strength. If he could obtain a soul bone, there was no doubting the effect it would have in improving his strength and power. The breaking through of the Golden Dragon King bloodline seals required him to bear the brunt with his body. If he could obtain another soul bone, he could at least negate the need for the heaven and earth treasures he would have required to break through a seal. How much money? How much money? He could save a fortune. I'll give it my best. After all, I did not promise to be her boyfriend or anything. She's only doing that to try to get to me. All right, then if I truly emerge as the champion later, let's see what you'll do. Tang Wulin balled his fist subconsciously. Captain, you're awesome. You didn't even bat an eyelid and you've picked up a princess. Xie Xie hugged Tang Wulin's shoulders, his face full of praise. Go away. Tang Wulin was depressed enough as it is. You shouldn't have done that. What will you do with Gu? Yuan and Yehui said seriously. That's right. It's not proper for you to do that. A man must be responsible and faithful in love, Yu Jingyu said severely and forcefully. As he looked at his handsome face, Tang Wulin had a strong urge to punch it. Who was it that bought an entire bar just to get someone's contact number? What right do you have to lecture me on this? Xu Lixi also moved closer. Captain, good luck. What do you mean, good luck? Yi Xinglan shot Tang Wulin a scornful gaze. I never took you for a womanizer as well. Tang Wulin's eyes bulged. I'm only 15 years old. I didn't even do anything with Gu. How did I become a womanizer? Is it wrong for me to study every day and slowly improve myself? Even when he returned to the hotel, Tang Wulin was still unable to come to terms with the events that had transpired. Luck truly did not seem to be in his favor. Why did that princess want to make things difficult for me, of all people? Tang Wulin's heart was full of distress. He grunted inwardly. It's just a competition. What's the big deal? I'll win that championship and rub it in your face. Then I'll see how I can take my revenge on you. Bam! Bam! Having made his way to Gu's door, Tang Wulin raised his hand and knocked. There was no sound from inside. Gu, I hope you're not getting the wrong idea about today. That princess did the whole thing on purpose to frame me, Tang Wulin said as he knocked on the door. The door opened. Out came a hand that pulled him inside. Gu's expression was calm. She walked to the sofa and sat herself down. Tang Wulin hastily went over hoping to sit down as well, but Gu shot him a glare. He could only stand there shamefaced. This is how things went. Tang Wulin recounted his harrowing experiences to her on the spot. Serves you right. After Gu finished listening to him, her expression relaxed a little bit. However, she still could not help but say, as a man, why are you even thinking of getting revenge on her? You've caused enough trouble. You shouldn't enter the competition. Tang Wulin said, but Elder Cai said that if I don't take part in the competition, she wouldn't allow me to enter the inner court. Besides, there's a soul bone among the competition's prizes. When she heard the words, soul bone, Gu was stunned. An icy look quickly flashed deep within her eyes. Tang Wulin said, the soul bone has many uses. I obtained a right metacarpal bone before, and from that, I acquired the Golden Dragon Dreadclaw ability. If I can get my hands on another soul bone. All right. If you want to enter the competition, then it's up to you. Get out. Gu stood up suddenly. She pushed Tang Wulin out of her room and closed the door with a bang. Inside the room, Gu leaned with her back on the door. Coldness burst forth from the depths of her eyes. Soul Bone. The Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite Competition was one of the grandest events on the Star Luo continent. This competition had passed down since the ancient age of the Doluo continent. In ancient times, Soul Masters were highly respected. The Martial Soul Hall, which had controlled the majority of the Soul Masters on the continent, had founded this tournament to find outstanding talents. The Martial Soul Hall was subsequently overthrown by the champions from the three great empires led by Tang San. The Soul Masters were now free, but this tournament was still passed down. After the Doluo continent turned into a federation, the competition slowly faded away. The Star Luo continent, however, had continued to hold this contest out of respect for their rich history. The competition would be held in the capital of the Star Luo continent, Star Luo City, once every 3 years. Every Soul Master under the age of 20 could sign up. Of course, there were certain requirements for one to be eligible to participate. Soul Masters with soul power lower than rank 20 were not allowed to enter the competition. Additionally, participating in the competition required the Soul Master to pay a registration fee. The registration period lasted for a whole month. With the passing of time and development of the society, the main categories in the current Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition included 1 against 1, 2 against 2, and the 7 against 7 challenge. There was also a Mecha challenge, which brought it to a total of 4 competitive categories. There were no competitions on forging, mecha building, and other sub-profession skills. The entire competition was mainly a fighting tournament. The aim of the competition was to stimulate the combative spirits of the younger generation in the Star Luo Empire. The contestants who were able to achieve good rankings in the competition would leave a strong mark in their files. Whether it was for their studies, job hunting, or enlisting in the army, they would be given preferential treatment. Among all the competitions, the one that attracted the most attention was the 1 against 1 challenge. There were no restrictions in the 1 against 1 competition. The contestants could use any weapon or tool they saw fit. Whether it was a mecha, a soul tool, or battle armor, as long as you could possess and control it, you could use it in the competition. Hence, the 1 against 1 competition was the most interesting and intense. The Star Luo Empire had always advocated individualistic heroism. The Tang sect's ancestor Tang San and the Spirit Pagoda's founder WillYou were both idols in the hearts of the Soul Masters. They had, with their own strengths, turned back the powers of darkness and pushed the history of the continent forward. The strength of an individual could have a decisive impact during a war. This was starkly different from the Doluo Federation's advocacy of team battles and emphasis on cooperation. After an orderly combing of the registration name list, the final legal registrants for the 1 against 1 competition numbered as many as 5,613. Almost all eligible Soul Masters had chosen to sign up for the competition. The total number of participants who signed up for the 2 against 2 competition was 864 pairs. For the registrants of the 7 against 7 competition, it was a total of 113 teams. There were 461 registered for the mecha battle. With the registration period at an end, the competition would officially begin the next day. The people who came from Shrek Academy did not need to go to the trouble of queuing up to register. Their registrations were directly managed by Star Luo Empire's officials. Tang Wulin and the others did not sign themselves up. Instead, it was Elder Cai who had submitted their names. Aside from Shulishi, the rest were taking part in the 1 against 1 battle. For the 2 against 2 match, they formed 4 teams which included everyone. As for the team battle, Shulishi was the substitute contestant. It could be said that everyone had a foot in every competition. "I don't want to be in the same team as him," said Gu coldly as she stood before Elder Cai. Shuffling contestants before the competition was not initially required for those from Shrek Academy. However, something had occurred to cause Gu's refusal to participate. Elder Cai's knit her eyebrows tightly. "Let me remind you. All of you aren't just representing your individual selves in this competition, but the Academy as well. Similarly, this trip to the Star Luo Empire is a test of sorts for you, and every action you take here will be taken into account when you're being graded. If you're not going to participate in the competition, you're forfeiting your entry to be one of the Shrek 7 monsters in the future. At the same time, your entrance to the inner courts will be dependent on your performance from this point on." "Okay," Gu agreed. Tang Wulin quickly pulled her arm. "Gu, are you out of your mind? Why aren't you taking part in the competition?" Gu only nodded her head. "I'm in a bad mood." After she finished, she turned around and left Elder Cai's room. "She can't still be jealous, can she?" "But this is," Xie hesitated. Tang Wulin hastily said to Elder Cai, "Elder Cai, I'm sorry. I'll go talk to Gu." After he finished, he quickly turned around and chased after Gu. Gu stood silently in front of the window as she gazed to a faraway place. She seemed to have foreseen that Tang Wulin would come, so her door was left open. Tang Wulin pushed on the door and entered her room. He walked quickly and stood behind her, unable to help himself but question her. WillYou, what's up with you? Why won't you take part in the competition? WillYou continued gazing outside as she replied dryly, why do I have to take part in the competition? Tang Wulin walked up to her and grabbed her by the hand. Stop playing around, all right? I'll bring you to Elder Cai to explain all this, and we'll take part in the competition together. Don't you want to enter the inner court? Don't you want to become a member of a new generation of the Shrek 7 monsters? WillYou turned around and looked at Tang Wulin. Do you honestly think that I can become one of the Shrek 7 monsters? Don't you forget, I'm a member of the Spirit Pagoda. In truth, things aren't as harmonious as you imagine between Shrek Academy and the Spirit Pagoda. I don't think this matter has gone unnoticed to you. Tang Wulin was stunned. You're choosing the Spirit Pagoda. WillYou replied dryly, I've already made my decision when Elder Cai deliberately made things difficult for us in the past when we had just joined the Academy. The Spirit Pagoda provided me with plenty of things unavailable in the Academy. I don't think I'm destined to join the ranks of the Shrek 7 monsters. Tang Wulin stared at her blankly. This was his first time hearing about this from WillYou. But Tang Wulin was slightly at a loss on how he should be advising WillYou. After knowing WillYou for so long, he knew just how stubborn WillYou could be. There would rarely be any changes made once she set her mind to something. But, don't you want to continue being with me? Tang Wulin blurted out. WillYou's body shuddered. There was an instant addition of color in her gaze toward Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin continued weakly, I mean, to cultivate with me. WillYou looked at him with keen sparkling eyes. Do you want me to take part in the competition? Tang Wulin nodded without hesitation. Of course I do. We're partners. WillYou squinted her eyes slightly. Okay. I'll enter the 2-against-2 match with you, but I'll only enter this one match with you. I won't be taking part in the solo and team competition. It won't affect you guys anyway. Tang Wulin's wore a slightly complicated look. Although she had agreed to join him in the 2-against-2 match, the words she had just said drew a line between her, him, and the others, seemingly placing several layers of barriers along with it. This feeling made Tang Wulin very uncomfortable. He did not like their current condition. WillYou. Why don't you get out? I need some time alone, WillYou said softly. All right. Nobody could sway WillYou's emotions. After she agreed to participate in the 2-against-2 match, she remained in her room the entire day, completely shutting herself in. Tang Wulin was also in a bad mood, so his appetite was only half of what it usually was. He wanted to persuade WillYou but did not know how he should go about doing it. The Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition finally began as millions anticipated its beginning. The competition took place in the Star Luo Coliseum in Star Luo City. Due to the overwhelming numbers of participants, the contestants were separated into teams by the system, and the preliminary matches would continue for a long time. In order to reduce the numbers of contestants quickly, they based the preliminary matches on an elimination system. Whenever a contestant lost a match, it would spell their end in this year's competition. Undoubtedly, luck played a huge factor in this, but one's strength also played a part in it. Justice was always relative. Just as Elder Cai had once said, there was no absolute justice in this world. If one wanted to receive and control justice, one would have to rely on sheer strength. The first of the competitions to take place were the solo matches. This was also the most intense and fiercest battle which millions looked forward to. Amidst the Star Luo Coliseum were 50 competition rings where the contestants would compete against one another according to the order set by the system. When a battle ended, another would start immediately, and the process would repeat itself until all the preliminary matches had ended. Everyone present had an electronic contestant number card that contained detailed information about them inside the card. At the same time, there was also information about their competition times. If the contestants missed their match, it would be considered a forfeit and they would lose the match. The opening ceremony of the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition did not take place at the very beginning because there were too many contestants. It had to wait until after the preliminary knockout matches ended. The Star Luo Coliseum could accommodate 300,000 spectators at any one time. It was the largest coliseum in Star Luo Empire and the entire Star Luo continent. It was also the coliseum with the most advanced equipment. Before the competition began, the entrance tickets were already sold out. In addition to that, there were a huge number of registrants. The income from ticket sales alone was sufficient for the Star Luo Empire to cover the expenses for the entire competition. Moreover, there was also a live broadcast throughout the entire continent, and anyone who wanted to watch it had to purchase the broadcast rights. When it came to the profit streams from developing the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition, the officials of Star Luo Empire were well versed. Even the most ordinary of people would wish to become a Soul Master. The opportunity to watch such a wonderful competition was practically like a festival to them, so Star Luo City was not the only place with an exhilarating atmosphere. It even spread toward the entire Star Luo continent. Since the order of the contestants' matches was immediately assigned, the participation of those from Shrek Academy was not concentrated in one day alone. Tang Wulin's number could be recalled easily. 333, it looked like a good number. His match was on the first day. After WillYou had refused entry in the solo matches, the interesting thing was that the competition for the rest was on the second and third days and had just missed Tang Wulin's match. Are you unhappy because I've given up on the competition? WillYou walked forward, brushing shoulders with Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin shook his head. I don't really feel unhappy or anything if you don't take part in the competition. It's just that I feel like you seem to be estranging yourself from us. I even have this premonition that perhaps you might leave us in the near future. I don't like feeling like this. WillYou was stunned. I'm sorry. Even the longest feast must end at last. We'll eventually have to go out separate ways. We'll have to grow up one day, and when we do, we'll have to part ways. Why must we part ways? Tang Wulin blurted. They looked at each other as their eyes interlocked, but WillYou suddenly looked away. Maybe we don't have to be apart. We'll see how it goes. Aren't I joining the competition with you later? Tang Wulin mumbled, actually, we can still cultivate together for many years. Although you're a member of the Spirit Pagoda, Shrek is just an academy. I can still go to the Spirit Pagoda after I graduate. A strong surge of reluctance suddenly filled WillYou's heart. She took Tang Wulin's hand by her own accord and said, I promise you, I'll at least enter the inner court with you, is that all right? Tang Wulin was shocked at first, but his shock quickly turned to joy. I'll hold you to that. WillYou nodded and smiled, of course. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.